That's right! Welcome to the side of the ring because it's time for Ringside. Got a bunch of news lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen, so at first, WWE views the fan revolt that led to The Rock's heel turn as, quote, a blessing in disguise, per Wrestling Observer Newsletter. That's because officials at the company now believe Dwayne Johnson will probably do more with them after WrestleMania than he would have otherwise, quote, because he can get to Reigns later rather than just do that match. So my biggest takeaway from that is that they're not going to do it at Backlash. They're going to do it a little bit later on down the line, which isn't fine, because that would go against everything that I was screaming about for the last, week. I don't understand why you have the match sort of sitting in front of everybody right now, and you don't want to do it. But also, I would argue that that is the equivalent of, well, we have this feature that we can put into this video game literally right now, but we could also call it a DLC and have people pay extra money for it, which sounds like that's what they're doing. They have the ability to throw this on, a Backlash or a SummerSlam or whatever, but it sounds like they don't want to do that, and it sounds like they would like to sort of keep this in their back pocket and pull this out on when another WrestleMania money, I don't know, another big four pay-per-view shows up. I guess. I don't 100% know. So that sounds like what the plan is. I don't know if that's 100% true. But, we're just gonna have to wait and see, I guess. Next, while discussing the 21-minute promo The Rock released online before SmackDown last Friday, Wrestling Observer Radio's Dave Meltzer said his WWE sources tell him Johnson can no longer get as much TV time as he wants, like he has in the past. This is the exact argument that I was having yesterday, when I was talking about how Tiffany and Naomi got cut for time. I was like, that's inconsiderate, right? That's not fair. It's not fair that you can just go out there and call everybody crackheads and, call Seth Rollins a clown 8 different times in one promo, you know what I mean? And I said that. I was like, that's a promo that went on for way too long, and you could have cut that down easily, and it could have been way shorter and more concise. And it's annoying when you do that, and I don't think that that's fair. And you know what? I say all of this, and I highly doubt that The Rock went out there and said, I'm going to go over time because I'm The Rock and I can do what I want. I highly doubt that that's what he said. But the fact, and you know what, now that I really think about it, I talk as though he did it on purpose. I do. I talk as though he did it on purpose. But even then, you are aware of what you're saying and how you're saying it, so at any point, you could have just brought it home. At any point, right? Because you're the one who's talking. So you could have just cut everything off, and you could have, gotten straight to the point, and it would have been fine, and nobody would have said anything. So, at the end of the day, that's good that The Rock doesn't really get any special treatment when it comes to that sort of stuff, and hopefully he doesn't do, well, I already said this, and I doubt that he will, it's just, hopefully he doesn't do stuff like this, more in the future. Sticking with WWE, Meltzer wrote in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter that Johnson, Roman Reigns, and their relatives consider incoming WWE talent Tama, quote, part of the family, and the idea of adding Tanga to the Bloodline, quote, in some form down the line has been considered. Here's the deal. How far down the line are we talking, though? I said this in the last episode, I was like, I don't want Tanga, and I say this, but then you look at Solo Sikoa, and you think, as long as they give him something to do, as long as his position has a role, then it's not that bad, right? But my worry, my slight worry, is that he's kind of going to get lost, he's just going to be another member of the Bloodline, and I'm worried that he's not going to have a particular personality that stands out, which I say that, but I doubt Tama Tonga's just going to show up and be like, oh God, what do I do? How am I going to fit in? You know what I mean? I'm sure they'll have something for him and he'll be able to work with stuff, But like I said, I personally would like Tama Tonga to come in, have a little bit of a singles run, maybe win a title or two, like Solo did. Pretty much exactly like Solo did. Come in, establish yourself, be dominant, win a title, get in some storylines. Then, when you join the Bloodline, maybe, as all this is happening, you sprinkle in a couple flecks of something's cough, cough, Bloodline, cough, cough, and then you kind of go back to what he was doing, right? And then, big crazy match with Roman Reigns, Tama Tonga shows up, so that way everything all kind of fits together and you kind of know who he is already, you know what I mean? So, I don't know how I'd like far out, I guess. Like, I don't know how long it'll be before Tama Tonga joins the Bloodline. I would like it to be the same amount of time that it took for Solo to join, get him involved in a couple stuff, and then he does it. So we'll have to wait and see if that does end up happening. Moving over to AEW, Brian Alvarez said Darby Allin only needed 12 stitches after his dive through a sheet of glass during Sting's last match at AEW Revolution. Well, that's good. Only 12, you know. Could have had 13 stitches, you know. No, but listen, okay, I could sit here all day and talk about how that's not safe, and I don't want him to do that, and I worry about him, and I worry about his body and his conditioning and all that, especially when he gets older. In fairness, two things. He was up, and he was, like, cognitive when the match ended, and they were, like, you know, past the allotted time slot, and then he was at the media scrum as well. So, I mean, he only got 12 stitches. The way that it looked, it probably looked like those stitches were maybe like, you know, little ones, or like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it looked like. He definitely got messed up, though. If you saw his back, it was definitely crazy. And man, he didn't need to do that. In fairness, they could have easily, you know, had a much simpler spot, or he could have wore a shirt, you know, or he could just not be that way. I don't know. I guess as long as he's okay, as okay can be, right? You obviously don't want him to go out there and, you know, put his body on the line like that on a frequent basis, like Jeff Hardy did. Unfortunately, that's what he did. So, listen, I'm just going to be honest here, folks. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that Darby Allin is going to get some form of, like, fusion surgery of some kind down the line. So, if I were you, I definitely would keep an eye on that. Keep that in your calendars or whatever. But, I mean, he's okay. He got the stitches. So, you know, I mean, that's pretty much all you can say, because you can't sit here and be like, well, hopefully he doesn't do that again. It's Darby Allin. He's probably going to do that on Wednesday, you know? So, there's nothing I can say, folks. Just hopefully if he ever does something like that again, maybe he will only need 10 stitches. Who knows? Finally, after he was removed from AEW's online roster page, Fightful confirmed that Mike Santana is no longer with the company. It's almost a little bit sad, to be honest, because he was here, and he was with Jericho, and he had a lot of really, really good matches. He was in the Stadium Stampede match, right? And he was with Ortiz, and they were doing their thing as Proud and Powerful. And I don't fully remember what happened, because, man, that was a while ago. But I do remember when, you know, news came out that him and Ortiz, you know, weren't on the same page. And again, that was also sad, too, you know, because you were under the impression that they were friends. And then they kind of they went off TV, gone for a little bit. I think he was injured. Something happened. He wasn't just off TV. Something like happened. And then they came back. They both came back. And I think they both, Santana and Ortiz, had a match with one another. It was on Rampage, though, which is like, okay. And then, yeah, that was pretty much it. You didn't really hear too much, you know, about him, right? Which, you know, isn't really that big of a deal. He's a human being, right? He's allowed to make whatever decision that he wants to make. If he doesn't want to be with AEW, if he doesn't want to work with, you know, Ortiz, then it's not really that big of a deal. There's nothing. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't calling Santana, you know, I wasn't getting them mixed up. Either way, you know, I can't really sit here and tell him, you know, who to work with and who to not work with. And it's just, I don't know, it's a little sad, because you thought that they were friends, and it turns out that they're not. And, you know, you don't want them to, like, have ill will towards each other, but you can't make people like each other. So there's not really much you can say about that. There's not really much to say in general. The hope is that eventually, you know, down the line, he'll find maybe if he still wants to do wrestling in some capacity, he'll find, you know, an outlet or something. Maybe he'll be a manager or a producer of some, or a trainer, you know what I mean? That's the hope. And yeah, I mean, other than that, you know, hopefully he gets into something in the near future. What do we talk about? All right, so I don't know when they're going to do Rock Roman. It doesn't sound like they're going to be doing Rock Roman anytime soon. I personally feel like they should, but, you know, it sounds like they're putting it in their back pocket, and they're going to do it, I don't know, maybe next WrestleMania, maybe, you know, at one of the big four. So we'll have to wait. So, Rock can't go overtime like he used to. Good. I don't think that that's what he was thinking, you know? I don't think he was going out there and being like, yes, I would like to go overtime, and that's what I'm going to do. Again, though, at the same time, he has control. He can cut it if he wants to, and he didn't. So, he should definitely work on that. So, Tama Tonga they consider Tama Tonga part of the family, and the idea of adding Tonga to the Bloodline in some form down the line has been considered. I don't know what down the line means. I don't know how long that time frame is, you know, in terms of that phrasing. It could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year, you know. My hope is that they give him the Solo Sikoa treatment, they have him do a little bit of a singles run, and then, you know, he joins the Bloodline. So we'll have to wait and see if that's what they end up doing with him. And then Alvarez said Allen only needed 12 stitches. Only 12. So, you know, he'll be fine. You know, if he needed 14 stitches, then we would have to worry, you know. There's literally nothing I can say because he's going to keep jumping off of stuff. The hope is that he just doesn't jump off of something too high or into something too dangerous. That's literally all I have. What else? Okay, Santana is no longer with the company. It's sad. What can you do? It's his prerogative. Wherever he decides to go is wherever he decides to go. Either way, good luck to him, you know? Hopefully him and Ortiz aren't on super bad terms. That's just me, though. I just want everyone to get along. And finally, as of last week's NXT, there are no plans for William Regal to return to television, reports Fightful's Corey Brennan. Makes sense. I don't really think that he was planning on doing anything crazy, right? He obviously could have been an on-screen personality in some capacity, but we already have Ava doing that, so there's really no issues, so nothing to worry about, folks. On that note, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful tonight and a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.